Okay, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. It's Wednesday night, so we're going to do halacha and Tanya. And halacha, where by the laws of Shema, we're reading the Shema every day. Now, there is a biblical mitzvah in the Torah to read Shema twice a day. In the Shema, we say, "B'shachvacha u'v'kumecha." Simply means when you lay down and when you get up. So our sages interpret it to mean b'shachvacha doesn't mean laying down like Beis Shammai held. Kumecha doesn't mean when you stand. It actually means at the time people go to sleep and at the time people wake up. Okay, so that's how they learn biblical. There's a mitzvah of reading the Shema actually twice a day. Now, women are not obligated per se in the mitzvah of reading the Shema, because it's a mitzvah connected to time. Any mitzvah connected to time, the Gemara learns out from many different places, women are not obligated to do. So because Shema is connected to morning and night, so technically women are not obligated in the mitzvah of Shema. Nevertheless, our sages tell us that because the concept of Shema, we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, we're accepting the godly yoke and accepting the mastery of Hashem, it's appropriate that women say at least the first pasuk of Shema. But the general custom is that women do say Shema, the 3 chapters of Shema. In fact, the 3rd chapter of Shema that talks about tzitzis, even though women are not obligated in tzitzis, but they're obligated in the commandment of remembering the exodus of Egypt, Yetzias Mitzrayim. And in fact, that's why we say the 3rd parsha of Shema. Why do we say the parsha of tzitzis, as the connection to the Shema? And the answer is because there's a mitzvah to remember every day and every night, the mitzvah of Yetzias Mitzrayim. So women are obligated to say that paragraph of Shema. And in fact, according to other people, like after Shema is more important because that's when it speaks about between Shema and the Shemona Esrei, speaks a lot about the going out of Egypt, which women are obligated to say. Now, what's the earliest time somebody could read Shema in the morning, and what's the latest time? So the earliest time, I'm not talking biblical, I'm talking about practical halacha. The earliest time a person is allowed to say Shema is what's called Mishayakir. Now, Mishayakir means when you're able to recognize a person that you're semi-friendly with 6 feet away. That means you're not talking when there's lights in the street. Like in the good old times, in the ancient times, when the sun started coming up, there was dawn. We discussed this already. There was dawn, and then 72 minutes later, sunrise. And in between that is a time when you're able, there's enough light to recognize somebody that you're semi-acquainted with 6 feet away. So it's after dawn. The question, how much after dawn and so on. But the best time to read the Shema really in the morning is sunrise. That is the best time to say the Shema in the morning. How late are you allowed to read the Shema? So I should say like this. The fact that the Torah says you wake up in the morning, now that means you have to say it when people wake up. Now, years ago, people woke up at sunrise. That's what the pasuk says. At sunrise, people already went out to work. And they came back at night. There were no lights. So people went out when the sun came out, they went to work, and then they came home at sundown. But nevertheless, the Gemara says, the Mishnah says an interesting thing, and that's the halacha, that because Jews are all kings and princesses, therefore kings don't wake up early in the morning at sunrise. They wake up 3 hours into the day. That's when kings wake up. So therefore the Gemara learns out, and this is the halacha, the Gemara says that what is the latest time you could read Shema? The latest time you could read Shema is 3 halachic hours into the day. Now, if you remember, we were discussing the halachic hours. So, for instance, there's 2 opinions. Do you start from dawn? Do you start from sunrise? But just to give an example. Today, this morning, the latest time for reading Shema, according to the Alter Rebbe, would be 9:20 in the morning. This morning would be a 9:20. So therefore, the earliest the person can actually say the Shema would be 5:44. Sunrise, probably 5:30 would be the earliest somebody could say Shema today. How late can they say Shema? Until 9:20. That's why people sometimes they wake up late. They go to sleep late. They wake up late. They have an obligation. It's a biblical mitzvah. There's a biblical mitzvah that you have to say Shema in the proper time. So people have to make sure that there's somebody wakes them or they get up in time to read the Shema in the proper time. Okay, so the best time to read Shema, as we said, like this, is right before sunrise, and then right away do the Shema Nesri. Now, when we read this Shema, you could sit, you could stand. There's no difference. It does say, though, interesting in halacha, that if you're sitting, you shouldn't stand up just for the Shema, because then it shows like you're giving parts of Torah more important than other parts of Torah. So if you're standing, you can stand. If you're sitting, you sit. You can either way. But just to be sitting right before the Shema and then stand up for the Shema, that it says in halacha you shouldn't do. You should not lean on your side. That's disrespectful. Lay down in bed, like you're talking to the king. You're getting a biblical mitzvah. So you can't just lay down on your back. You need to sit up properly dressed, and so on. Now, what happens if somebody is sick? God forbid, they're confined to bed. So then they should turn to their side a little bit. Instead of just laying on the back, laying on your side is much more respectful. And that's what a person should do. Okay, just a little bit even to move to the side to be able to read the Shema properly. Now, because Shema is a biblical mitzvah, it's not a rabbinic, it's a biblical mitzvah. So therefore, a person has a biblical mitzvah to read the Shema every day. So now we know before you do a mitzvah, you're supposed to have intent. Okay, you're supposed to have intent to do the mitzvah. So you have to have in mind that you're doing a mitzvah, and what's very important is, in order to fulfill your halachic obligation of Shema, you have to know at least the first sentence of Shema. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. That you must think, intent, at the time you say that pasuk. Ideally, you have to, of course, know what all the words mean. I mean, the whole intent of the whole Shema, the whole davening. But if somebody doesn't have kavana, the intent of knowing what the words mean, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, or they're dreaming about something else, they did not fulfill their obligation of Shema. They're going to have to say the Shema again because they didn't fulfill their obligation. Now, it says in halacha that when you say the Shema, okay, Shema Yisrael means hero, but it means understand that Hashem Elokeinu, that God, which is our God, is Hashem Echad. Now, it says this in halacha also, that when you say the word Echad, God is one, Echad is spelled Aleph, Ches, Dalet. Okay? Now, Aleph is 1, Ches is 8, Dalet is 4. It says in halacha that when a person says the word Echad, what are they supposed to think? The Ches, the 8, represents the 7 heavens and earth. Dalet means up and down. Dalet is 4, represents the 4 corners of the world. So basically, Ches and Dalet represents all 6 directions: north, west, south, east, up and down. That they are all subservient and bottled and nullified to be Aleph, to the one Hashem. And this is what it says in halacha. You're supposed to think when you say the word Echad, that the 7 heavens and earth and the 4 corners of the world are subjugated to the Aleph, to the one Hashem. And that's mandatory to think about that when you say the Shema. In fact, many people, the Alter Rebbe brings this down, Many people have a custom when they say the word echad, they're saying the ches and the dalid, the 8 up and down and the 4 corners of the world. They will shake their heads, move their head a little bit in all 6 directions. It's brought down in Shechunah that the Rebbe used to do that. A lot of people do that. That's what they. Now, another thing you have to be careful with, and halacha warns about that. Sometimes when a person says the Shema, if you ever hear people saying it out loud, they say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's halachically incorrect because the word is not Echad. You don't add 15 olives. You say Echad, one God, Echad. And when you say the word Echad, you're supposed to have in mind the 7 heavens and earth, the 4 corners of the world, and they're all subservient to the out. Another interesting halacha. Now, Chassidim in general are not particular in davening Hebrew, the davening according to Hebrew grammar. There is diktuk, which is a part of Torah. I'm not talking about modern Hebrew. I'm talking about Lashon Kodesh. You see this many times. Rashi and Chumash says according to the laws of grammar and Torah grammar. So technically, when a person davens, you should say the words correctly, pronounce them correctly according to the grammar, Hebrew grammar. But the Chassidim were never careful about that. But when it came to Shema, when it comes to the pasuk of Shema, the whole 3 paragraphs of Shema is brought down from the Tzemach Tzedek, from others. You should try to read it according to proper grammar. Not to swallow the words. And some, it says in halacha, you have, let's say, b'chol levavcha. So you have 2 words next to each other that they end with the same letter as it begins with. So you're supposed to say b'chol levavcha. Stop, because if you say b'chol levavcha, you're using 1 lamed for both. So you're making a run-on word. B'chol levavcha. You have to say b'chol levavcha. Va'avadetem mehera. Just make sure that it's done in a way that you're pronouncing the words correctly and know what the words mean. Now, another interesting thing about the mitzvah of saying Shema. Now, Shema has 345 words in it. 345 words in the 3 paragraphs of Shema. So if you ever go to shul and davening with a minyan, so the chazan repeats 3 words. Hashem Elokeichem Emes. So the chazan finishes the Shema, and then he says again, loud, Hashem Elokeichem Emes. Why does he repeat those 3 words? It says as follows. Krishma has 345 words. There's 245 words. A man, not like a woman, a man has 248 limbs. So by repeating the 3 words, the chazan repeating the 3 words, and he says, Hashem Elokeichem Emes, then we have now the 248 words would correspond with the 248 limbs of the person and the 248 positive mitzvahs. Now, what happens if somebody is davening themselves, or a woman is davening by herself and there's no minyan? So the chazan doesn't repeat the 3 words. So there's different customs. If you ever go see in other Sidurim, not Chabad Sidurim, before Shema, it will say Kel Melech Neman. Kel Melech, the God, the King God, who's a trustworthy, God. But Alter Rebbe holds, we don't say that. Alter Rebbe holds that if you're davening by yourself, without a minyan, or you're in shul and they already finished Shema and you didn't even begin Shema yet. So then at the end of Shema, you also say 3 extra words. But what do you say 3 extra words? At the end of Shema, you say the last pasuk is Ani Hashem Elokeichem Asher Hitzeisi Eschem Me'eretz Mitzrayim liyos lochem lelokim, ani Hashem Elokechem emes. That's the last pasuk of the Shema. I am God, your God. I took you out of Egypt to be your God. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am God, your God, emes. So the Chazan says Hashem Elokechem emes. But as individuals, when we say the Shema, when we get to the end, we say Ani Hashem Elokechem, Ani Hashem Elokechem emes. So we make up the three words that way. So in other words, if you're davening by yourself, you say Ani Hashem Elokechem asher itzeisi eschem me'eretz Mitzrayim liyos lochem lelokim, Ani Hashem Elokechem, Ani Hashem Elokechem emes. Okay, then we have the 248 words. But the question is an interesting question that the Minchas Halachos, the Munkatcher Rebbe asks, that what women, the Gemara says, have 252 limbs, not 248 the command. Women have there's different opinions, but the halacha is a woman has 252 limbs. So then it's not 248. So is there any reason why a woman should repeat the three words to make it 248? And the answer is they do, because it refers to the 248 mitzvahs of Hashem, which are called the 248 limbs of Hashem, meaning just like the purpose of a limb. What is the purpose of a hand, a stomach, a mouth, a head, whatever? Is that limb, for instance, the mouth, which is a limb, is the limb that the power of speech that the neshama has, if it wants to speak, what is the limb that's the vessel for the power of speech? It's the mouth. What is the purpose if you want to smell something? So the neshama, the soul, has a power of smell. So where does that power of the smell manifest itself in the body? It manifests itself in the nose. You want to write, it's a power of writing the neshama has. Where does it manifest itself? In the hand. So why are mitzvahs called the limbs of Hashem? What's the connection between mitzvahs and the limb of Hashem? So Chassidus explains very simple, very interesting. Just like the purpose of a limb, let's say the hand, is for the power of writing that the neshama has, it has its vessel that reveals that particular power of the soul. Every mitzvah of the 248 positive mitzvahs have a unique vessel that reveals a certain level of godliness in the world. In other words, Kabbalah Chassidus explained, there's 248 different revelations of godliness in the world. How do they reveal? So Tzitzis reveals it one way, and Shabbos reveals it a different way, and every mitzvah is like a limb. What is a limb? A limb is the vehicle for the power of the neshama to reveal itself. The power of writing is in the hand. The power of smelling is in the nose. The power of going is in the foot. So every mitzvah brings out a different revelation of godliness. So tefillin, let's say, is one vessel for a certain revelation of Hashem. Lighting Shabbos candles is another revelation of godliness. So therefore, the 248 words in Shema represent the 248 levels of mitzvahs. So therefore, it doesn't matter if it's male or female, there's still 248 positive mitzvahs. Now, while somebody is reading the Shema, you're not allowed to, definitely not talk, but you're not allowed to make any movements. You're not allowed to make motions with your hand. You can't call somebody. I mean, you're saying the Shema, you can't say can't talk, but you can't move your hand, come here. You can't motion things with your lips. Sometimes you could lip talk. So you're not talking, but lip talk. You're not allowed to show things with the finger. You can't do anything. During Shema, you have to concentrate on the words of the Shema. Same thing with the Shema Esrei. Shema Esrei is even stricter. You have to stand and you can't, But when you're saying the Shema, you're not allowed to make any eye motions, hand motions, feet motions, whatever. You have to concentrate on the saying of the Shema, and therefore you're not supposed to say any other things also. Next, now for the men, when you say Shema in the morning, so we know we gathered the tzitzis. Okay, so a few sentences before the Shema, we have Avienu L'Sholem, which is simply means Hashem should bring us peacefully back to the land from the four corners of the world and break the yoke of the enemies and so on. So it says, and this is our minhag, and the world does it also a little bit differently. When we say, or even could start even a little bit before, when you say Vavienu L'Sholem Me'arba Kampei Soretz, you take the four tzitzis. Now the order, the way we do it, the Rebbe writes in Minhagim, we take the front two. Then we take the back left and put it side of it. Then we take the back right and put it. So now the four tzitzis are actually lined up next to each other. Then we put it in through the pinky, between the pinky and the ring finger, and then we bring it up between the thumb and the forefinger. Okay, so when we say, I mean, if you don't do it, it's halachically is not an issue. But the way we do it is, when we say Vavienu L'Sholem Me'arba Kampei Soretz, we gather the four tzitzis together. First, the two front ones, the back left one, the back right one. We lay them flat next to each other, and then we put it in between the pinky and the ring finger, and then we wrap it around over the palm of the hand between the thumb and the forefinger. And we hold it there in our left hand for the duration of Shema. When it comes the last paragraph of Shema, Vayomer, then we also take it, we keep holding it in the left hand, but we also take it in the right hand, because now you're talking about tzitzis. So you hold the thing in your right hand. So you hold the thing in your right hand. Before you start the paragraph of Shema, you look at the tzitzis, and then you say the third paragraph of Shema. So you say, tzitzis. The custom is you take the tzitzis, holding it in both hands now, put it over the eyes, and kiss it in the mouth. The Rebbe Rashab kissed it 3 times every time. So you take the tzitzis in the right and left hand, men obviously. You say, tzitzis. They go like this. Then the next time tzitzis, and and then afterwards it says in the siddur, the lo'ad and kayames, we kayames and lo'ad, and then we kiss the tzitzis, and then we let go of the tzitzis. Okay. So that's, you take the tzitzis and we put them together. Okay. Now, another interesting thing about Shema in the midst of the Shema, what happens if you already davened? You davened already. And you walk into a shul. There are certain things it says in halacha, even if you davened already, or you're not davening until later. If you walk into the shul, when the shul is saying it, you say it. The 3 things are Shema Yisrael, and again, some opinions say just the first pasuk, some people say the first paragraph. You should say it together with the minyan, even though you davened already. You're not davening until later. Ashrei, you walk in the shul and they're saying Ashrei, you say it together with them. And Aleinu L'Shabeach. All the way at the end. If you come at the shul, you already davened, but you're hanging around shul. And the minyan is saying Aleinu, you say Aleinu together with the minyan. You say Ashrei together with the minyan. You say at least the first paragraph of Shema together with the minyan, even though you davened it. So like I said, you're going to daven later. That's the way because these are such important tefillah, such important prayers that if the minyan's saying it, you say it along with them. It's interesting. The tefillah aleinu l'shabeach. People run out at the end of davening. They're running out. It's the end of davening already. But aleinu l'shabeach is a very, very holy prayer. Aleinu l'shabeach was instituted by Yehoshua ben Nun, by Moshe Rabbeinu's Talmud Yehoshua, not on Shekhinah Segadela. That was 1,000 years later plus. Yeshua ben Nun, when he conquered the city of Jericho, of Yericho, when the walls came tumbling down, Yeshua ben Nun instituted at that time Aleinu l'shabeach. And it's interesting, if you watch the Rebbe when he was davening, the first paragraph of Aleinu, the Rebbe said quite quickly, but the second paragraph of Shema, when he wasn't davening as a chazan, the Rebbe took his time saying the last paragraph of the Aleinu. The first paragraph he said quicker. I don't know if it said Shema, I meant Aleinu. The first paragraph of Aleinu he said quite quickly, but the second paragraph, it speaks about the second Elam to fix the world with the malchus of Hashem and so on. So those things the Rebbe would say very slowly. But you saw that was very intense when he said those tefillahs. So, it's a very important tefillah. And therefore, what people do, if you come into a shul, I'm confused, so am I. One second. Let me get what you wrote here. So we say the last sentence twice of Shema when davening, not the last sentence, just the last three words. In other words, if that's the last thing you say, Ani Hashem Elokeichem asher tzesi aschem me'eretz Mitzrayim liyos lochem lelokim. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Ani Hashem Elokeichem emes. When you're davening with a minyan, the chazan doesn't say Ani, it says Hashem Elokeichem emes. When we're davening ourselves, it's still only the last three words we repeat of the last sentence. The last sentence is Ani Hashem Elokeichem asher hitzesi aschem me'eretz Mitzrayim liyos lochem lelokim. Okay, and then the end of it, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, and we say Ani Hashem Elokeichem twice, and then emes. In fact, in this week's parsha, Shlach is where that parsha of Shema is. But in the Chumash, it ends Ani Hashem Elokeichem. We don't add the word emes. But when we daven, we add the word emes. Okay, that's basically it as far as the practical halachos of Shema. So now we're going to go to Tanya. We're starting a new parak in Tanya.